I'm sick, but my parents are already sharing my inheritance money, so I tell them I'm going to donate it. The hospital bed creaked as I shifted, the IV needle tugging at my skin like a cruel reminder of my body's betrayal. My parents stood at the foot of the bed, their whispers slicing through the sterile air, plotting how to split my inheritance money. I hadn't even left them yet. I was 24 fighting leukemia, and they were already carving up my future like vultures circling a still-breathing corpse. My name is Lily Harper, and I wasn't supposed to hear those words, but the thin curtain separating my hospital room from their hushed conversation did little to muffle their greed. The lake house could be ours, my father muttered, his voice low but eager. And the stocks, those could set us up for life, my mother added, her tone sharp with calculation. I lay there, my chest tight with more than just illness, wondering when my parents had stopped seeing me as their daughter and started seeing me as a payout. 6 months ago, I was a graphic designer with a tiny apartment, a cat named Mochi, and dreams of traveling the world. Then came the diagnosis, acute myeloid leukemia. The doctors were optimistic at first, but the treatments drained me, and the bills piled up faster than my hope could keep pace. My parents, who'd always been distant but polite, suddenly became fixtures at my bedside. I thought it was love. I thought it was care. But now, as I overheard their plans, I realized they were here for the money my grandparents had left me, a trust fund I couldn't touch until I turned 25, which was only 3 months away. The irony burned. I was fighting to live, and they were planning my death. I gripped the thin hospital blanket, my knuckles white, and something inside me snapped. If they thought my life was just a stepping stone to their dreams, I'd show them what my life was really worth. I pressed the call button, and when the nurse arrived, I asked for a pen and paper. My hands trembled, not from weakness, but from fury. As I scribbled a note to my lawyer, I was going to donate every cent of that inheritance, $2.3 million, to cancer research and children's hospitals. If my parents wanted to profit off my pain, I'd make sure they got nothing but a lesson in humanity. The next day, they came back, all smiles and false concern. "How's our girl doing?" my mother cooed, adjusting the flowers she'd brought, cheap carnations, probably from a gas station. My father stood behind her, his eyes darting to the heart monitor like it was a countdown to their payday. I took a deep breath, the oxygen tube hissing softly, and said, "I'm donating my entire inheritance." The room went silent. My mother's smile froze, her lips twitching like a glitchy screen. My father's face turned red, then pale as if I'd punched him in the gut. "What?" he sputtered. You're not thinking straight. Lily, the chemo's messing with your head." "No," I said, my voice steady despite the ache in my bones. "I've never been clearer. That money's going to help people who actually care about living, not people who are already spending it while I'm still breathing." My mother's eyes welled up, but I couldn't tell if it was guilt or frustration. "You're being selfish," she hissed, her mask slipping. "After everything we've done for you." "Everything?" I laughed, a bitter sound that hurt my throat. "You mean showing up when you smelled money? I heard you last night. You were dividing my inheritance like it was a pizza." My father stepped forward, his hands raised as if to calm me, but his voice was sharp. "You're making a mistake, Lily. That money could secure our family's future." "Your future," I corrected. "Not mine. I might not make it to 25, but if I do, I want that money to mean something, not to fund your lake house or your stock portfolio." The argument escalated, their voices rising until a nurse poked her head in, warning us to keep it down. My parents left in a huff, promising to talk sense into me later. But I wasn't done. I called my lawyer, Sarah, who'd been a friend of my grandparents. She arrived that afternoon, her face kind but professional, and I told her my plan. "Are you sure?" she asked, her pen hovering over the legal documents. "This is a big decision. Lily, once it's done, it's hard to undo." I nodded, picturing the kids in the pediatric ward down the hall, their laughter echoing despite their bald heads and IV lines. "I'm sure. If I'm going out, I want to leave something good behind." Sarah drafted the papers, and I signed them with a hand that felt stronger than it had in months. The trust fund would be split half to the American Cancer Society for research, half to St. Jude's for kids who deserved a chance at life. I felt lighter, like the weight of my parents' greed had been lifted off my chest. Word got out. My parents didn't come back for a week, but when they did, they were different, quieter, almost humbled. My mother sat by my bed, her hands folded tightly in her lap. "We didn't mean for it to look like that," she said, her voice small. We just, we were scared. Scared of losing you. Scared of what comes next." I wanted to believe her, but the hurt ran deep. "You were scared of losing the money," I said softly. "Not me." My father, who'd been silent, finally spoke. "We were wrong. Lily, we got caught up in our own fears. But you're our daughter. We love you." I searched their faces for sincerity. Maybe they meant it. Maybe they were just trying to save face. Either way, I'd made my choice, and it wasn't about them anymore. It was about the kids who'd get a shot at life, the researchers who'd fight for a cure, the hope that my pain could mean something more than a paycheck. Weeks passed, and my condition stabilized. The doctors started talking about remission, a word that felt like a fragile gift. My parents visited more, and we talked, really talked, for the first time in years. They apologized, not just with words, but with actions. My mother started volunteering at the hospital, reading to kids in the pediatric ward. My father donated his old car to a charity for cancer patients. I didn't know if they were trying to make amends or just chasing redemption, but I chose to see it as a start. One evening, as the sun set outside my hospital window, casting an orange glow across the room, I thought about my grandparents. They'd left me that money to make a difference, not to tear us apart. I'd honored their wish. Even if it meant breaking my family's expectations, I didn't regret it. My story isn't just about me. It's about what we value when life strips us down to our core. It's about choosing meaning over money, hope over greed. I don't know how much time I have left, but I know I've left something behind that matters. What do you think? Was I right to donate the money? Or should I have kept it for my family? Share your thoughts. I want to hear what you do. Ender.